Hello and welcome to So Much Game with another episode of Words That Make Worlds. And I will let my wonderful guest introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Ben. Hi everyone. I have been, I've been in the TTRPG scene for I don't know 4 or 5 years now. I started just before the whole pandemic thing hit, and it seems like a lot of people got involved in the whole scene around then because nobody had anything else to do. So yeah, I haven't been playing TTRPGs for that long actually. I'm not one of these people that started in high school. I often wonder what it would have been like if I had. But no, I picked it up in my late 20s and got got fed up with some of the things that my group picked up early on because it was a bit too crunchy in that, and decided to start making my own games. And that just kind of exploded, especially over the pandemic, and I've been kind of non-stop doing it ever since, to the point now where I have several published games. I do some art of my own. I run a podcast that I made using one of my own games, and I'm often on streams or playing or running games elsewhere. And I mean, this whole thing has taken over my life. I'm originally from computer games. That's my like day job. But what I actually enjoy doing now is role playing games.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure anyone watching this will agree with you. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of overlap of people who like computer games and people who like
Yeah, strangely
TTRPGs.
enough, I don't even really play computer games that much anymore now. Like most of my time is spent doing this stuff.
Yeah. Well, you have one of your games with us
Yes.
tonight that we're going to run as the world building segment of this show.
Seems appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think this is my most recent game release. I made this last year, and it is a offshoot of the Beak, Feather, and Bone game from Possible Worlds. Excellent game that you should definitely check out. But also check out this game, which is Data, Nerves, and Acquisition.
Yeah.
It's available on my itch. I can't remember what price I've got it at, but I've got lots of community copies there as well. So go check that out. I'm sure Louis will put the
Yeah.
link in
I will make a picture of it appear at some point and then add a link. The magic of recording. Yeah, so I'll swap us over to overlay with the screen as well. So now everyone at home can also watch along.
Ta-da.
Yeah. And
So
I suppose
Beak from Bone it's a world building game, right? But it's not like other world building games like The Quiet Year where you're drawing a map. It's they describe it themselves. Tyler Cumry, who made that game, describes it as a map labeling game because you start off with a map pre-made and you're basically coloring it in and defining what those sections of the map represent on a another doc that you're writing down, like all the details and stuff. So what we've got and what Louis is hopefully showing right now is the map that I've created for this. And I did that using another open source piece of software from itch. I can't remember who makes it, but it's the Wataboo map generator. And so you can generate a city kind of map that looks like this. And
I'll add a link to that as
well.
well.
All of this stuff's linked in the PDF for DNA as well. So it's all in there somewhere. And yeah, the way I've kind of hacked the Beak, Feather, and Bone SRD is to turn this less into a map labeling kind of thing, but more into a faction building and lore building out kind of game. So you have your map and you're defining the locations, but you're also building up a history and a kind of description of your faction as you're going. And it's kind of intended as a way to you flesh out a world that maybe you've done a small section of. Maybe you've done like one campaign in this city and you've got so much of the city left to explore that you've never looked at before and you don't know what to do with it. And you've maybe got some like small parts of factions that you've mentioned previously and you want to flesh this world out. So you can use this to do exactly that. And with my Cybertopia podcast, we used this between the first and second season to really flesh out the city that's based in, so that we've now gone into this world in season 2, and the players are encountering all these new different factions. We've got 15 players in Cybertopia, so each one of them made their own faction, and I ran through 3 iterations of DNA, and each iteration overlaid the map from the previous group. So they were all building on top of all the other factions and creating NPCs and interactions between the different factions. And oh man, the map was super messy at the end of it, but it was really cool. And now I'm like running them through this world, and I'm able to say, okay, we'll go to the northwest, and you can see this group over there, and they've got the mega car wash or something.
Yeah, awesome.
So, yeah.
So, was that sort of the impetus to design this, or did you already have a kind of idea in your head?
Maybe I can't remember. We're going back like half a year. Memory is gone. I'm sure it was somewhere in the back of my mind when I was creating this. I remember, like, I played Big Forever and Bone years and years ago, and way before I'd even started Cybertopia, and always thought, okay, that's a cool system. What if we applied it to a more modern kind of setting? And so that's what I've tried to do here. So though the book is like the writing and the illustrations in it are all kind of geared towards a cyberpunk kind of world, you could really apply this to any kind of city in a high fantasy setting or a steampunk setting or any kind of setting, really. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I suppose we'll give it a go then and show people how it works.
Cool.
Yeah. So, what's sort of the first things you need to do?
So the first step is forget about the map. We have to design our faction. So we'll take a faction each, and I've in the book I've written out a whole bunch of kind of preset factions that you could run. There's the Underground, who are like a military kind of faction, or the Free Earthers, who are kind of libertarian groups. So there's 10 example factions that you can take from there. Or you can roll some dice to define some characteristics and go from there. So I've got 5 different characteristics: overtness, aggression, technology, criminality, and collateral damage. And I like to use D4s for this. So I'm going to roll my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll do the rolling first, and then we can figure out what we want them to be after that.
Okay.
So I've got an overtness of 4, aggression of 1, technology of 1, criminality 4, and collateral damage also 4. Okay.
Seems like there's a.
So this is interesting because I've got a very obvious, very criminal group who does a lot of collateral damage, but their aggression is very low and their technology is very low. So a very simple group who collateral damage being high and aggression being low. Maybe this is like a protest group that they cause lots of disruption, but they're not actually violent in any way.
I think that's the fun of a cyberpunk setting. You just have so many levels of dystopian groups, and
and the idea is that the factions you're creating are like underling underworld kind of groups, and like there is a big bad corporation or ruler or government or something, and none of you like can be on that sort of level. You're building them up from a kind of underling kind of situation. So do you want to do some rolls and we can figure out who your faction is?
Yeah. Okay. I'll have to find my D4.
I like just to find a use for a D4.
I mean, I have kids, so slowing them down is
Yeah.
Well, I also have an overtness of 4. An aggression of 4. A technology of 2. Criminality 1. and collateral damage of 1.
Okay,
So
interesting.
a very aggressive, kind of low tech, not really criminal group. Um, yes.
Maybe maybe they could be like a military kind of group. Like they're a
Yeah.
lot more what's the word I'm looking for? Disciplined.
Yeah.
So they're not causing damage. They're targeted. Maybe they're like an assassin group or something.
Okay.
Um,
But
so
sort of, yeah, maybe more of like because the technology level's fairly low as well on them, more like a street level enforcing group.
mm. They could be a mercenary group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Um,
I'll
all
write
right.
that in the description.
I am going to call mine the Proletestarate. They are a proletarian protest group.
Yeah. I'm gonna call mine as a uh street level mercenary group, Street Safe.
Oh, they're the good guys, really. They're looking after the
Are
little
they
people.
though?
Wow. They're a
We'll
what a
find out.
militia, right?
Yeah,
And they're not criminals because they're doing it for the good of the people. Um,
we hope.
so now I'm going to scroll down the PDF to get to the actual gameplay part.
Yeah.
And so the next stage is to pick a color for each of our factions that we are going to then represent ourselves with on the map. So what color do I have by default?
Yeah.
I need to remember how to use the drawing tools on.
Purplish color, so I'll stick to that.
Yeah. Okay. Then, yeah, I'm blue and you're purple. So,
Yeah.
cool. Then we just check I'm doing this right. Yep. Yeah, then we just take it in turns to draw a card, and the suit of the card determines what kind of building it is. And the number of the card determines what kind of importance it has in the city. So aces are low, so ace to 10, 10 being the highest numerical value. And if you pull a
Yeah.
face card, then you create an NPC. And they have a slightly different set of rules that we'll get to if and when that happens. If it doesn't happen, I'll just tell you about it at the end.
Yeah.
Uh,
Perfect.
but you're first up, so go ahead and draw a card.
Right. Draw a card then. And it's a 5 of clubs.
Okay, so clubs are a technology or infrastructure purpose. So next you pick a building somewhere on the map and we'll come up with a tech or infrastructure building for street safe.
Let's see. I feel like let's start somewhere around the docks.
Okay. I'm glad you instantly picked up that is the docks because I've had a few people being like, "What are these black lines? Is there water?" Like, yes, that's it.
There we go.
Okay. So this building down the dock.
Central building.
What this is it's a 5, so it's like a mid-ranking kind of building in terms of importance. What is this building to street safe for infrastructure or technology?
So if it's an infrastructure building, could it be like infrastructure for the docks?
Yeah.
So something like either a central warehouse or
Be like a supplies building or a supplies
yeah.
storage.
Or maybe where like the dock workers gather and are recruited in the morning for various tasks
Okay.
along the docks.
Ah,
So
yeah.
sort of like a big dock temping agency.
Yeah. Yeah. And you like, is it then like a bit of a cover for Street Safe to
Yeah,
be like,
because
yeah,
it
this
gives
is your
them access to the docks and the people that work the docks who might be interested in keeping the streets safer from.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is where the data, nerves, and acquisition part comes in. On the document that we've got drawn up, we've got the data where you can write down what is this place, how would a non-player character describe it, what is it used for, what is it called or referred to as.
Trying to think what that kind of place is called. It literally does have a name, but I can't think of it.
Like the dockyard or something.
Yeah. Just call it yard recruitment or something like that. There we
The yard. Um,
go.
and then we have the nerves, which is what is it connected to? Is it of historical or industrial significance? Who or what passes through this? Or is another faction or the ruling party involved in it?
I would say it's probably more of like, yeah, general industrial and people importance,
Mm-hmm.
more
Probably
significant
like connected
because of
to trade routes and that
trade.
sort of thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Maybe smuggling gangs.
Smuggling gang, I like that. And that might be how Street Safe get a lot of their equipment in.
Yeah,
What
and
little
intelligence.
equipment they have, and yeah, intelligence.
I mean,
Um,
they're not high tech, but they could have a lot of fairly mundane weaponry and gear.
yeah, yeah, that they can bring in through the docks.
Yeah. This is where we
Um,
get our supply of bats with nails in
yeah, the extra sharp nails.
them. And then
I think
finally, sorry, go on.
it's probably connected to the ruling party on like a higher level, but underneath street safe is slowly moved in there.
Mhm.
Like the underground level.
Well, so this was kind of the next part as well, then, because acquisition is how did this building come to be part of this faction territory? Do they
Mm.
now own or simply occupy it? Is it in their possession or, sorry, is their possession open or is it a cover for secretive operations there? So
Oh,
basically, how did they come about this and who actually owns it?
yeah.
It sounds like it may be the ruling party
I think
is
the ruling
the
party
technical
owns
owner.
it,
Yeah.
yeah, and Street Safe have subverted that a little by infiltrating the
Yeah.
groups of recruiters and stuff like that.
We're running this for you in the way you think it should be run, but actually
Yeah.
underneath.
But some stuff comes in that doesn't go out again.
Yeah. This is the off the books section.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is it. We've got our first building covered. So now it is my turn. I will draw a card. And I have drawn. Oh, the Joker. I did not know I had the Jokers in this deck. Okay, we'll sure ignore the Joker. And pull another card. Oh, a king. Oh. Okay, so I have drawn a face card. So this, like I said, works slightly differently. So I now get to create an NPC that belongs to my faction. And a Jack is a ruffian or troublemaker. A queen is an emissary or negotiator. And a king is an organizer or coordinator. So I've drawn an organizer or coordinator. That is the king of diamonds. That still falls into the other the general suit natures. So this is a organizer or coordinator in a financial or commodities area for my gang, the protester. Protester. Fuck. Why haven't I made a name so different? Say protestorate. Um,
It makes it hard to track down who you're trying to arrest, though. So.
nobody can say it. So Yeah. Again, the data, nerves, and acquisition for them is also slightly different,
Yeah.
but a a financial organizer. Um, I think this is a bit like, you know how whenever you get these kind of protest groups, like the Just Stop Oil people and that sort of thing, right? There's always actually someone at the top of it, or someone that is like the financial backer who's actually probably deeply not a good person. And I think this is exactly that. It's like the shady benefactor of the group. Um, and actually, yeah, we'll call him uh, Big Benny. And
Cool.
yeah, uh, I think probably the group doesn't actually know a lot about him. So, uh, oh wait, I forgot to do the first part of this all. We got Big Benny. He's the financial
Yeah.
guy. He is. I have to pick instead of a building that we do with the number cards. You pick a neighborhood, and then you circle a neighborhood.
Wow. Okay.
As a financial person, I'm going to say he's probably in the city center. Actually, maybe encompasses the whole city. It's like CBD area. So I'm going to, let's go for all of this area. And
Yeah.
yeah, he basically
Yeah.
goes through all of the skyscrapers and stuff, and he's doing deals and whatnot in the dark back rooms. And he is the source of the funding for the protester. He's like um, sorting out the dodgy deals to get people out of jail and that sort of thing when someone's got into trouble. Um, so yeah, the DNA of this briefly describe the person or group, which is the data. So they are the uh, benefactor, does shady dealings. The nerves are how do they operate in the area and who do they interact with. Um, Basically, all of the rich people, the people with power, probably interacts with the ruling party a fair bit. Definitely is somewhat of a double agent, but is like doing whatever they can to materially gain from all of this. Um, so upper classes, we'll call that.
Remains dystopian throughout.
Yeah, you got it right. There's always someone.
Yeah.
The shadow government, you know. Okay. And then the acquisition is what are they trying to gain or achieve? And probably just more money, more power. And that is it. We've both done our
Yeah.
first card. Um, and so you could run through the whole deck if you wanted to. I have usually run it to about 5 cards per person, depending on how long you want to
Okay.
run. But I think that's probably a good amount for us to aim for tonight.
Yeah.
So let's go to
Good.
Louis' second card.
Perfect. I will draw another one. And while I'm doing that, I will say I really like how already it's created character in the
Mhm.
city.
And
Like,
it makes
we
its
started
own
off with
kind
a
of
blank,
stories.
yeah, blank map, and we already have stories.
Mhm.
And the 7 of Diamonds.
Oh, okay. So that's again a financial card, and a 7 is a pretty decent number. So what are Street Safe doing for money?
Um, Now, this is the point where I suppose I can choose whether Street Safe are actually helping people or whether Street Safe are shaking people down.
It's a
Because,
bit of a racketeering thing going on,
yeah,
right?
an
They are
obvious
keeping people
choice,
safe from themselves.
yeah, the obvious choice, I think, would be that they provide protection to people who would otherwise be threatened by Street Safe.
Or other gangs. There's
Or other, yeah,
yeah.
there's other people there, obviously, but you know, that,
You're in our neighborhood. You're under our
yeah.
wing. Yeah.
So, in this case, do I color in a single building or
Yeah, so it's a single building because a number card. Um,
Yeah.
and you can go within the area that I've circled for Big Benny,
Yeah.
or anywhere else.
I feel like street safe doesn't really work right in the center because there's probably too many private protection groups
Yeah,
and PMCs and things in there that
a bit too
that are a
bit too
bit too
out in
big
the open,
for
bit too much potential for conflict there.
yeah. We'll have to find a nice out of the way group of buildings where they have decided to settle in.
So I suppose it could be like their kind of a neighborhood base of operation
Yeah.
for them, like their little racketeering hut.
Sort of over here somewhere. It's fun. Everyone gets to watch us coloring and see how badly I'm doing it as well.
So there is a way to do like polygons and stuff
Yeah.
in Roll20, but I just don't bother.
Yeah.
Like, this is easier.
I could have just made a rectangle, but freehand seemed more fun and more in keeping. So I think sort of from there, they run that racketeering group for sort of that entire densely collected neighborhood on both sides of that street, and
Yeah,
or
the
that
block.
main furrow through just So I suppose this place, what would it be though? Because obviously you're not going to call your racketeering headquarters the racketeering headquarters.
Would it be like a shop that they operate out of, like almost like a front business, like a barber shop or something, and they actually operate out the back.
They're pretty overt as well.
Oh, true.
So I feel like it would be like, it could be like one of those old army surplus stores or something that gets frequented by lots of people who have a need for lots of army surplus gear.
I like it. Yeah. Oh, especially because it's a financial building as well. Like they are actually selling stuff like gear and whatnot.
Yeah. And so it's not entirely unlikely that money would flow through that building.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like it's dual purpose. It's laundering and it's a racketeering base. Yeah.
So nerves.
What is it connected to, and who's involved in it, and that.
Yeah.
I suppose it's kind of a neighborhood kind of thing, right? So it's all about the neighborhood.
I feel like it's probably an old store that has been in the neighborhood for quite some time, and Street Safe have co-opted it.
Yeah. Do you think, could it be that like it used to be owned by some old army dude, right? And he kind of became friendly with some of them. Eventually he moved on or passed on or something and left it to someone else there, and they've just kind of turned it into their own sort of thing. Like if he saw it now, he'd be like
on eventually after they had a good idea of how the whole place ran. There you go. So it's a historical store previously owned by an ex-soldier.
Yeah, so the acquisition part of it is that maybe they do actually technically own the deed to the building, but like they totally muscled their way into it.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking.
But in a friendly manner.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't kill the guy off. He left on his own accord.
He got, for what is a very old building, a generous payout.
Yeah, a generous payout of keeping your kneecaps.
Yeah. Precisely. What more can you want?
Oh, we're awful. Excellent. Okay. I will go ahead and pull my next card. Oh, 10 of spades. My spades is media or PR. Okay. A very important media or PR building for a protest group. Interesting. Hmm.
Do you find that you like thinking about the setting for your RPGs in this sort of way of groups and locations and how they all fit together? Or
I
is it something that has come from building this?
That's another difficult question. That
Sorry.
is, I think it's one of those chicken and egg kind of things,
Yeah.
right? Like, um, sometimes you need something like this to widen the world from, like, if you've got a very kind of tight, specific story you've been telling, then this can help think about it in different perspectives, right? Um,
Yeah.
Sometimes some games already involve a lot of different factions. Like if you're playing a Blades in the Dark or a Beam Saber or something,
Yeah.
they have a big whole faction system involved already.
Didn't.
Yeah. But even then, you could like use this to like figure out exactly where those all stand, and especially within a single city, like where is everyone in Duskfall? Like,
Yeah.
I think with this PR building, I think this is a maybe like a big billboard, like a big electronic billboard that they put up their big protest messages on. And so we're gonna have it right in the city center. We'll make this whole building here. It's just a big billboard, and that's where they probably own it. I reckon it's probably owned by Big Benny, and in fact, probably all of their buildings are probably owned by Big Benny. But it is a billboard where they put up their messages.
You think
Of
they're
like,
overtly owned by Big Benny, or does he fund it under the table?
I don't think he's like a figurehead kind of person. I think he is in the background. I don't think. Oh, maybe it's all done like through shell corporations
Yeah.
and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that it's not actually his name on any of the things, but like he is. Maybe he's not even like actually running things. He is giving the money and letting other people like say, the degrees of separation, so he's plausible deniability and all that.
Yeah.
Um, what should we call it? Billboard. I'll just call it the billboard, and it's where they send out messages to people of protest. Yeah, messages of protest. Um, who's it connected to? I mean, obviously connected to Big Benny. And uh, also, I guess because it's in such a central location, it's so big, so over, it's probably connected to the commuters and just workers. Everybody that's going past is going to see this and see the whole. Um, it's probably not as blatant as bring down the government kind of messages, but it'll definitely be like, the government wasted billions of your taxpayer dollars on nonsense this last quarter. This is what
This
good they
billboard.
could be doing with it. Yeah. This billboard uses up 500 gigawatts a day. Um, Connected computers. And yeah, it's just owned by Big Benny.
Yeah.
God, having a benefactor is really handy. Just to have that on everything.
As a first role as well, it's useful.
Yeah, right.
Because it sort of defines. Yeah, cool.
Okay. Let's go number 3.
Draw number 3 then. The 4 of clubs. And a lot of clubs in.
So that's another tech infrastructure.
Okay.
And another middling kind of one.
Yeah. I think they need now. I suppose they also kind of need some way of surveying the neighborhoods that they're protecting.
Protecting, yeah.
Protecting. Yeah. So it might be sort of um, a technology hub that provides part of the infrastructure for like it's dystopian. So there's cameras everywhere, presumably,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and
maybe
there's
it's like a security building.
yeah,
They get all the security feeds
it
in.
feeds in for
Mm-hmm.
like part of the city.
Yeah. And maybe it could be another one of these ones that's like a legit business. Like that this is
Yeah,
an actual security firm that is actually hired by people to monitor these feeds, but they
it,
monitor them for their own purposes too.
yeah. There feels like there's definitely a layer of street safe where basically they get into buildings by pretending to be something legit and then work their way through it until they've got enough control over
You got
what they
it's a
need.
very kind of mob kind of thing we've got going on with Street Safe, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do? Well, we've run part of the docks and we racketeer. Oh yeah, okay, I'm getting a theme here.
Hey, this is a legitimate business. Come on.
I like it also being sort of nearish. It's probably going to be more central because it's security based, so they're going to
Mm-hmm.
want it nearer to sort of the polite center of the city. But I like the idea that it's still sort of that neighborhood
Yeah.
in the yeah
Yeah. Like it makes sense for a group like that to have a
area that they are.
kind of region that
Yeah,
they are localized to.
yeah.
Okay. Um, so the data is that it's a
It's
security building, security
yeah.
business,
Called
and the nerves.
Private Eye.
Oh, I like it.
And the nerves is it's a legitimate security business.
Do you think they are hired more for um kind of
I,
personal security, or are we talking
I think
commercial security?
I think it's sort of like they're more like a subcontractor for city infrastructure.
Okay.
So obviously the city has a bunch of cameras everywhere
Yeah.
and they need someone to run it and look at all the feeds
Mhm.
and watch things, and that gave Street Safe the ideal opportunity
Yeah.
to get in at the
Right,
ground
Street
level.
Safe is actually their business name, isn't it? It's Street Safe Inc.
Yeah,
or something.
uh,
And again, it's a business that they have
yeah.
what did they form this business? Did they muscle their way into another business again, or
I think they probably bought out Private Eye at some point.
yeah.
Like it was a small enough business that
Mhm.
they could use the funding coming in.
Yeah, I mean it's a small building. It's probably only like
Yeah,
a 2 or 3 person operation there.
yeah,
So like, yeah, they do a hostile takeover.
yeah. That feels very dystopian as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we have people watching you feed, but they're actually only just a small two-man firm that
Look, we've been
work
watching you,
runs.
so
Yeah.
you look like you could do with some help.
See, we've seen the problems coming and going in your business.
Wouldn't it be easier if the people you were watching were the people who were working with you?
Yeah.
All right. What is my card gonna be? Another king. Wow, a king of spades this time. Jeez, I am on fire. So this is a organizer or coordinator of media or PR. Um, I mean, this is definitely the front man, the front person. Um, what, um, what would I call them? I think I'll make this a lady this time. They're maybe maybe someone like a politician's daughter, and they're the person that gets up on the stages and has the megaphones and is being very like shouty and probably like one of those like um bad apple or a bad sheep of the family, black sheep of the family. That's the word I'm looking
Yeah.
for. And like maybe their dad is actually someone that's high up in the ruling party, and she's like always denouncing him and causing trouble. And yeah,
But
so
also proves to be, it's also like enough of a protection as well that she can say things out loud
exactly,
that other people
yes.
can't.
So I'm gonna call her Polly. Um, Polytectorate, and she's a politician's daughter. Um, she is obviously connected to the ruling party. Father is high up in, and her aim. Would she be actually trying to cause trouble for her dad? Like, is she actively trying to? I think she is. Yeah, she's just annoyed at her dad. Maybe he was too focused on being a politician that he ignored her when she was a child, and now she's getting her revenge by causing trouble with him. That's her whole goal. And that's that. Man, you get through some of these pretty quickly.
Yeah.
When you get rolling, I think it definitely accelerates towards the end. You're like, oh, I've got it down, and I know exactly the order of doing things and how things slot in. Oh, she needs a. I forgot to do a location again.
Yeah.
I think. Oh, yeah. It's the central square. She's going to be constantly setting up stages in the central square. Yeah, that's where she's doing her big speeches and stuff. That's where she operates. Done.
Cool. Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely like, there's a nice, like, fairly easy to get used to flow to how it
Mm-hmm.
runs, and you can create some really cool background.
Yeah, and if you've got a
Nicely
lot
done.
of players as well, it's
Yeah.
so easy to bounce off of each other as well and
Mm,
start bringing in ideas from each faction and
yeah.
like, especially when it comes to nerves of who's connected to who. Like, oh, this NPC maybe also operates in this specific building that is within their neighborhood. So yeah, there's there's so much
Yeah.
collaboration that can happen here as well. And from a personal perspective, when I was doing this game with the Cybertopia crew, to actually be involved in a game but not running the game like I do on the
Yeah.
podcast,
Yeah.
like I'm uh, getting to see a different side of the table, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine as well, like, if you do have lots of players, you quite quickly start to get factions where buildings are near each other, they start to overlap, and
Yeah, you
yeah,
get
then
some
people
conflict
have
of
to
rising and
start
stuff,
to
and yeah.
create conflicts and things. I'll draw my fourth card then. What's that going to be? Oh, a Jack of Spades.
Ooh. Okay, so this is a ruffian or troublemaker of media or PR.
That feels suited to.
Yeah, your group definitely needs a ruffian or troublemaker.
Yeah. Um.
So I suppose this feeds
Media.
directly into the whole overtness thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This is sort of. I think one of the front figures on the street level who people know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they yeah, who
Maybe like a top
maybe
enforcer or
yeah,
something. Like,
not the person who actively collects the racketeering money, but the person who that money then goes to, and people know, oh, on Tuesdays we have to pay.
yeah, maybe it's like the thing where if this
Yeah,
person walks into your shop, you know that you've
no,
got to
you've
get the
got
money
it.
out.
Yeah,
You're not giving them the money, but that is
money.
the signal of like
Yeah,
the next person that comes in after them. That's who you give the money to.
really do. Yeah, yeah. What's their name though? I mean, I'm tempted to call him Jackie Spades, but
I was thinking the exact same thing. I was like, Jack something, surely.
and so nerves. Um. Oh yeah. Do I have to? I have
Oh
to
yeah, you got to pick a
divide the
neighborhood.
general area, which is pretty easy because I think we've sort of settled on. So I want to say like this district.
That makes sense. So the nerves is how they operate and who they interact with. So it sounds like subtle intimidation seems to be
Yeah.
their tactic.
Yeah. Yeah. They'll never threaten you, but
Directly.
you know if you cross them, that's going to be a big problem for you.
Yeah. Probably one of these people that there's a lot of stories and urban myths about. Yeah. Okay. And then finally, the acquisition is what are they trying to gain or achieve? Um, enforcement, order, I
Yeah.
guess.
I think like enforcement and funding
Mm-hmm.
for street safe.
And I guess
And
reputation as well,
on a
right?
personal level, yeah, they're trying to build their rep up enough. I kind of like the idea that Street Safe itself as an organization is sort of like multi-level marketing. You have to build your rep up enough, and then you become regional manager of general racketeering for the northwestern region or something.
You have your minions, and they have their sub minions, and all of the money that gets brought in by each level comes up to the next level.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is definitely dystopian.
Yeah.
Okay. My fourth card is a lower card. Okay, I've got a 5 of hearts. I think this is our first heart, which is a social or community purpose. Okay. Um, well, I suppose protest groups need places to uh chill out and organize and that. So maybe this is a more community focused area as well. It could be a soup kitchen, and that's where they like gather the more downtrodden in society to radicalize them. Um, and I wonder if this could actually be near the docks. This could like be feeding off the dock workers people, and probably not right on the center. Let's have this building here. And excellent coloring in there, Ben.
Don't worry.
So,
I know the feeling.
I'm
Something
going
about
to
colouring in with a mouse is very much...
it's hard enough. So I'm just going to call this the cafeteria, and it is a soup kitchen to radicalize the downtrodden. And the nerves, probably feeds off of the dock workers, and well, both feeds off of the dock workers, and the folks that maybe have gotten on the wrong side of Street Safe, or Street Safe have gotten maybe maybe there are members of Street Safe that also come here. Like there's got to be some crossover between those sorts of groups.
I think Street Safe kind of probably targets a similar group of people as well.
Yeah,
like
there's probably people
got to
who get involved in both.
Yeah.
Okay, and acquisition. Yeah, probably is like a charity front, like the Big Benny, or like one of his shell corporations or something, is this charity that is like to feed low income people and that, and like he takes tax breaks from having that because it's a charity.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's make the next round our final round then. Card 5.
Okay. Card 5 then. That's a 3 of diamonds.
Okay. A not very important financial or commodities purpose. For Street Safe. So one of the things that I've really loved when I've played this a couple of times is some of my players have been absolutely masterful at doing low value cards. And so I had one player who kept on drawing low values, and every time he'd come up with something that was horrific, and it would be like, it's not that it's low importance, it was very bad, high importance for his particular faction. So he had like a 2 of diamonds that was like became a sinkhole for their funds, in that they'd like bought some building to try and turn it into something, but they just could never actually do anything with it because it was like cursed or something. So it's always fun to see people kind of turn it is almost like the failing forward kind of mechanic.
Yeah.
Make something super interesting still, even though it's low value.
I like the idea of them having bought like out a warehouse as well near the racketeering area, more to sort with the idea of them being able to shuffle their gear into there, but it turned out to be unsafe enough that they can't really use it for that, but use it more for, this is the place where we take people to intimidate them, but it's nominally a warehouse.
Maybe they bought this space to do stuff like that with it, but then the ruling party or some other faction or something bought like the adjacent building unbeknownst to them.
Now they just have to run it at
under
a
constant
loss
supervision. Yeah. Like, oh, maybe we just have to operate this as an actual business for once.
Any of the guys who don't meet their or any of the Street Safe members that don't meet their racketeering goal for the week have to spend a week after that basically running the warehouse.
It's the punishment bit. Nice. I like that.
Put it up here, and then we'll say that sort of bigger adjacent building is then a government or ruling party owned warehouse.
Or maybe it's like even the local police or something.
There was already planning permission beforehand for a new police station there, but Street Safe didn't know about it or didn't bother to check when they bring the police. And just thought, oh, this is cheap. We can use a big warehouse. It's called good shipping. So, yeah.
And nerves is, what is it connected to? Directly connected to the government building next door.
Directly adjacent to a police precinct. And what passes through, it's sort of used as a punishment detail for people who don't meet their boundary.
Mm-hmm.
Whom they term bad sellers.
Yeah. And was actually legitimately purchased with real money.
Yeah.
And that is why it's a low value finance card.
Yeah. It's also one of the few places where like their name is actively all over the lease. It was purchased purposefully by Street Safe Inc., so they really can't afford
Yes.
for anything illegitimate to happen there that they might get caught out on.
And if anyone that is like sent there for their punishment to run it does anything wrong, then like Jackie Spades comes round. Like,
yeah. And if Jackie Spades comes round to visit you in the warehouse, that's you're probably heading to the docks after that.
You go the same way as the army bloke.
Yeah.
All right.
Legitimately retired.
Final card of the session. An 8 of hearts. So a slightly more high importance social communities card. Okay. Maybe this is the last one was a cafeteria. Maybe this is more of like a pub or a drinking establishment. Could be because it's higher importance. Maybe this is more like the hipster bar kind of place where like the up and coming politicians and people kind of hang out to maybe try and feel more like grounded and I'm with the real people. I'm super important, but I like to hang around with the hoi polloi to feel the touch grass, you know.
Literally one building outside of that circle.
Yeah, almost certainly. Like it's going to be. Oh, it's not in the CBD. It's just outside. It's like yes, we're with the common folk. And we'll make it this nice corner building here.
Yeah.
And it's gonna have some like really pretentious name as well. It will be like the it'll be called the terrace. And it will have literal like grass on like a balcony that overlooks like maybe on like the other corner of the street is the start of some poor neighborhood, and it looks down on them. The people are standing up there having their like super martinis or whatever they drink in the future. Be like, yes, I'm connected with the common folk up here.
Yeah. But still overlooking them.
Yeah.
Greater height. Yeah.
Because you wouldn't want to actually like breathe in the same air, you know?
It wouldn't be on street level. It's just then you'd be outside near them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is for the upper class hipsters to look down upon society, but they think they're doing good. And acquisition. I don't think this one's owned by Big Benny. I think this is I don't think this is actually owned by the protester. It's more they frequent it. It's just a normal bar that has become like their bar.
I like how the protester like started off. They could have been basically some kind of protesting organization at grass level or something. But it turns out it's just a bunch of rich kids pretending that they hate everything.
The grassroots organizations always turn into an ivory tower, you know, that's how these things go. So yeah, there we go. We've got a nice kind of swathe of the city now populated here. And if we had some more players or did more rounds of this, you'd see the rest of the map slowly get filled in. And yeah, we've got a world beginning here.
Awesome. So, are there any other aspects of this system that we haven't seen yet, or that you'd like to emphasize?
So sometimes at the end of it, I'll like do a rundown of like what was total scoring or who had the most face cards. And so like the person with the most face cards kind of gets the will of the people because they've got the most leaders that are out there. So I had 2 kings, you had a jack. So there's like a 2-to-1 balance in terms of the kind of city influence that our groups have. But yeah, if there was more groups, then that would be further diluted potentially. I think my total number score is 10 plus 8 plus 5 is 23. What's your total? Probably higher because you had more cards.
5, 7, 4, and 3, and a jack of spades. So
5, 7, 4, and 3. 19?
Team.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you had a lower total value than me as well. So yeah, I think that kind of works out narratively as well in that you're more of a actual grassroots ground sort of level, whereas my people are the technically the more upper class side of this society. So yeah, it gives you a nice kind of balance of power kind of mechanic there as well.
Yeah,
that you can. I mean, of course, you can fit this into your own world and mash it around as much as you want to make it into what works with your own narratives and stuff. But I've always just loved with these games the way that the cards tell a story. And it's something that I like with running these sorts of games and playing these games as well, in role-playing games in general. The dice always just have their own way of telling a story, and like whatever ideas you may have in your head, the dice will think otherwise, and they'll make it up, and it's still a great story.
Yeah. No, that is it. So, would you say that like you prefer stories that are more open world then, where you roll dice and see what happens? Or
I think it is easier. And so with the podcast, with the Cybertopia podcast, in the first season, the way I ran it was using all of the pre-written missions that I'd written into the core book in the first place. And they're very tight, kind of, you get sent to a location, you operate in that specific area, whether it's like a nightclub or a factory or whatever. And you don't go outside of that. And all of the NPCs are in there, predefined and everything. But it works very differently to what I've done in season 2, where it's just completely open world and we're going out in this city that we've created and the players are in control of where they want to go. It's a lot easier, I think, to just go with the flow in that sense and just be like, okay, we're going to this place. Where do you want to go? Who do you want to see? And we can make, I think I'm a lot better at making it up as I go along rather than sticking to this is a rigid set of parameters you're operating within. But I think that's a personal preference thing. Like some GMs like to have that structure that they're given of like, this is the building, this is the person, this is what they do and what you'll find and that sort of thing. So I think particularly because the kind of games that I create are generally rules light games, having a loose kind of narrative system to it all makes that a lot easier to run.
And that sort of loose rules light aspect, is that already there in the other part of your life, or like in your day-to-day work,
Um,
or
no,
is that something you focus really? It's just
I
the opposite, so that you can add it to TTRPGs.
yeah, maybe this is my reaction to that side of things,
Yeah,
like being given a slate of like, this is what you have to do, Ben. We need to know about this sort of stuff. And
yeah,
now I'm like, okay, I just want to just go with it. I think I've always been a fairly kind of go with the flow kind of person, and like I like flexibility and openness. So
yeah.
can't get that in my professional life so much. So this is how I get. And I think that's probably why I gravitated towards this sort of game over things like the crunchier systems that I've done in the past. And I have had a lot of fun with them, and I still play things like that, and it's good. But I think, especially as a game runner, I prefer to have the more open, lighter kind of setups.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is something that's GM preference as well. Like,
There's nothing I dislike
you
more than having
like,
to flip through a rule book to
yeah,
figure out, oh no, this is what is supposed to be happening here. This is what this particular thing means.
I know the feeling. I'm also more of a like, I will wing it and find out. As you may have noticed in the game we played recently,
Yes.
where I really didn't prep that as much as as I could
You
have.
didn't need to. We worked out as we
Yeah,
went, and it
precisely.
worked out great. No, it's fine.
Yeah. Uh, Wait, actually, we were briefly talking then as well about another game that you made. Do you want to tell the people
Yeah.
about that one?
So
Because that sounds really
Cybertopia
cool.
was my first game system that I wrote back in. I think I wrote it in like 2018, and then like published it in 2019. Um, Shortly after that, during the pandemic lockdown period, I made Overgrown, which is kind of based on the same system as Cybertopia, but with that you play weird animal hybrids where like you have an animal and then you just stick on other parts of animals. So you can be like a beaver with an elephant's trunk and octopus tentacles, and it can spin spider webs.
Cool.
And so that's another very simple system, very rules light, easy to learn, easy to run, and gets absolutely nonsense wild. Like some of the stuff is so silly. Like one of the things that I specifically say in the rules is it doesn't have to make sense. You can be an elephant with butterfly wings and still be able to fly. It doesn't matter that like physically like that doesn't make sense, but sure, go for it. And it's one of those things like I think once you give players um the agency and the permission to just do whatever you want, there's always going to be a bit of like choice paralysis and stuff, but
Yeah.
once people get that kind of taste of freedom, they get going and going with the flow on it, they come up with some of the most nonsense ideas, and it's hilarious. And especially if you get players that know a little bit about animals as well. Oh man, some of the I have learned a lot about creatures that I would never have known.
Yeah.
Stuff like in one of my playtests, one of my players had a electric eel kind of thing, and they got a they got stuck underwater, and a squid thing did a squid ink, and they couldn't see anything. They were like, I want to do like a electrolysis thing and to get the water to disperse. I was like, is that a thing? Am I learning chemistry and physics here? Okay, apparently, sure.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I think that sort of game also leans to like you said, there's usually when you go into it, the players are a little bit like, okay, what shall I do? But when one of them sort of kicks it off,
Hmm.
then they start building on each other, and in the end,
It's funny
it
because like
goes.
the intention behind Cybertopia was to have quite a grounded world that wasn't too far into the future that people could relate to when they play. And then with Overgrown, I've gone completely the other way. I'm just like, whatever, just be ridiculous and
Don't
nonsense.
relate
It's
to
fine.
it. Just
Yeah,
create something.
exactly.
Cool. Yeah. And have you got anything else you're working? Yeah, I'm not trying to
Um,
get scoop out of you, but you know, a few minutes.
um, I have many ideas, as
Yeah.
any good game designer has. Lots of ideas that aren't written down. But the current thing is I am in the process of redoing Overgrown. So I got a new some new cover art done at the end of last year, and then one of my friends picked up the book and was like, "Oh, I'll do an editing and proofreading pass for you on this, and I'll do some layout as well." I was like, "Okay, sure." So apparently I'm redoing the whole book now,
Okay.
and hopefully that'll be ready soon.
But the right
Over
voice.
the festive period, I put in a bunch of community copies. So if anyone
Yeah.
wants to go and check it out, go and have a look. It's on my itch, and um, I have also vague plans to rewrite Cybertopia as well, because that is now a nearly 6-year-old book, and yeah, there's lots of things that I've come to realize like now when I run it and play it that it didn't need to have that bit in it. There was a section on like restrictions on what you should or shouldn't have, or
Yeah.
some crunchier little additions that I've never used, stuff like range or cover and stuff like that. Like we don't need that sort of crunch in a rules light game. So I'd like to do a rewrite of that and get some proper art done, because that was
Yeah.
my first attempt at doing awful photoshopping of stock art pictures and stuff. So um,
Yeah.
at some point I'd like to do that, and also I would like to do an SRD of the whole kind of structure that I used for Cybertopia and Overgrown, because I've had a couple of friends who have done like made their own games based on it. So one of my players from the podcast actually did a kind of communist version of Cybertopia, and so they've been asking me, Ben, make an SRD so I can have like an official version of this that is like as per your kind of wishes. I'm like, yeah, okay, eventually, but that's already 3 things on my plate. And then there's other stuff that I'd like to do as well. For a long time, I'd really wanted to do a kind of anime game that like you could do like an isekai story, or like big powers and like superhero stories and that sort of stuff. And I have many ideas for actual plays and streams and things. If I ever say to you I'm going to start up my own Twitch channel, tell me no, Ben, don't do it. You're an idiot, because I know how these things go. Is the games, the TTRPGs have already taken over my life. I don't need streaming to take it over too. So
Yeah, it's in the end, it's just the time. Where do you find the time to do it all?
yeah, and energy.
And obviously, we all have to work as well, which is yeah. No, yeah, but it sounds like a lot of great ideas. So yeah,
But yeah, I'll keep you all apprised on it.
yeah.
I'm no longer on Twitter. I'm on Blue Sky though, and if I'm in many Discords. So if you want to ever get in touch, you can find me somewhere, I'm sure.
There you go. Yeah. Other than that, I think, is there anything else you particularly would like to mention or talk about?
Oh man,
Open the floor up to you.
yeah. I want to be in all the games and all the shows. So if you've got something going on that you think might be of interest to me, give me a shout. I'd love to get involved in anything and talk to anybody at any time.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here anyway.
Of course, like I said, I've been on.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for running DNA, because it's pretty awesome. I really like how quickly it builds up, sort of from okay, you have an idea of who your faction is after a couple of rolls, to actually building out like a legitimate set in stone kind of, okay, this is who they are. This is what
It
they
builds up
do.
pretty quickly as well, right? Because
And,
we were
yeah.
playing for like an hour.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Like,
I think Street Safe is pretty much defined now as who
Yeah.
they are.
yeah, we could totally
And
go and
then-
run a game with these two factions in now.
Precisely. And it really creates a city that you could run a game in.
Mm.
I like as well, like you said, this, you could use this for any type of game as well. It doesn't really have to be cyberpunk.
And it doesn't even have to actually be a city. It could be a world map. It
Yeah.
could be a forest or anything,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And now I need to do this for Overgrown.
And then you're going to have to build another standard rule set.
Why do I do this to myself?
Hey, it'll keep you busy.
It was out of trouble.
Yeah. And, you know, as long as you're keeping busy doing the things you love.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for having me on, Louis. It was great chatting again. And yeah, I'll catch you around.
Yeah, right. Thank you. And to everyone at home, yeah, thank you for watching us and stay safe, stay gaming. Bye.
Bye, everyone.